welcome. You're watching We the People on a day that India has reported 9,887 new coronavirus cases in the last 24 hours, in the biggest one-day spike the country has seen so far. The number of deaths reported in the last 24 hours is 294, also the highest single-day spike. 294 deaths in the last 24 hours is also the highest death count, as India has surpassed Italy and is set to surpass Spain by tomorrow. For the last 3 days, around 10,000 new cases have been detected daily, and yet the national growth rate has slowed down by more than half a percentage point during this time. Now, keeping these figures in mind, when should schools reopen? That's the question we're asking tonight. Remember, millions of students' education has hit a bump, especially the most disadvantaged pupils risk being the hardest hit. But as the economy opens up, millions of working parents can't return to work while schools stay closed. So let's bring you all sides of this argument. Is it safe to send your child back to school if they open, when they open, and what will schools look like if they do reopen? To get you the pros and cons, we have educators, we have parents, we have students on the show. I want to start with Amita Wattal, well-known principal in the national capital. Ms. Wattal, how are schools grappling with deciding when to open? Because there's some educational experts who are saying that, older students should return first in order to catch up on a more intense syllabus. Some are suggesting primary school children need to go back first because, early years development is very important and also will help parents to return to work. How are you and other principals like you grappling with this decision? What are the factors you're taking into consideration?
Well, many of us have been involved with looking at those guidelines and sort of also, giving some sort of inputs for that. So first and foremost, there must be some very clear-cut guidelines which come out, because we will have to dovetail our decisions according to those guidelines. So we're waiting for that, and we've been told it's going to come out soon. Having said that, the entire opening process has been a very dynamic one. And so naturally, even when we look at school opening, it is going to be dynamic. But I think it is essential that we start moving from response of the crisis to recovery. I agree that until the vaccine comes and it's embedded in the system, there isn't a light at the end of the tunnel. But having said that, there are so many other issues that are coming into play. And the issues are that, again, as you mentioned, there are so many parents who even talk to me and say that if they go back to work, who's going to look after the children? Because they have children at all ages in their home. And that's going to be very problematic. The other thing is that we have to, as heads of schools, start building confidence-building exercises in children. Just the other day, I had a webinar with parents of the students of class 12 who are supposed to be coming in for the boards. And let me assure you that after talking to them and answering their questions, there was a certain level of de-escalating of the anxiety. Because everybody is escalating emotions right now. You open any book, any television, it's all about the corona. So I agree that we have a huge crisis in our hands. But we have to start de-escalating this. And we have to start believing that children have issues about, sort of widening learning gaps. And it's not about content. Content will happen on that online platform also. Because schools are more about humanizing spaces. And children need that. Maybe a university or college level child can make do with online. But children need to have somebody or something that is beyond their home,
okay, so the
beyond their
loss
mother
during
and
this
father.
period is social, you're saying. Whether you're age 4 or age 14, children rely on classroom interactions to build and maintain the social skills that will carry them through life. Okay, let's go across to Amit Bhatla. Amit, what would you say then in response to Ms. Wattal over here? Are you ready? Are you prepared to send your children to school? I know you're the father of 2 kids. They're senior school kids.
Ma'am, good evening to you, and thank you NDTV for keeping your focus on this very important issue. I would just like to reiterate a few facts which I am sure all of us are aware of. We closed the schools, we cancelled the board exams when we had just 2 to 3 exams balanced. That time we had 500 cases in the country. Today we have 2.5 lakh cases. There are almost 10,000 cases adding up every day. And at that time we said we are not prepared. So are we wanting to say that we are prepared and we are ready to test our children like guinea pigs? Let us look at some countries abroad. Israel, South Korea, these are technologically advanced countries. They try to open their schools. Israel had to close down the schools. There are 7,000 children who had to be quarantined. South Korea had to close down all schools. The very next day, they opened up the schools. Let's not go far. Let's look at IITs. These are premier technical institutes and educational institutes in the country. Even the IITs have all cancelled their exams. They say that it is not safe for the students and they want normalcy to return. They have found other ways of concluding exams or continuing with the education. Ma'am, there are states. Maharashtra government has requested the CBSE and the ICSE day before yesterday that they are not prepared to either conduct the CBSE exams, the ICSE exams, or to open schools. Can we take decisions like this without consulting the parents and the children? Will the CBSE chairman and the authorities, ma'am, take responsibility or accountability even if one child is infected? God forbid, if someone loses his life, we shall never be able to forgive ourselves, ma'am.
Some very strong points made there by our parent here, Amit Bhatla. Ma'am Vatal, what would your response be, right? Because many are pointing to the example of what we're seeing in France, what we've seen in Israel. They opened up their schools and cases have gone up. So there is a worry, of course, that if you act too early, you will see an increased risk, not just to children as these parents are concerned, but what about to your staff, to your teachers, to principals? And, you know, how do you maintain social distancing? I think, isn't that going to be the biggest challenge, especially for younger kids? Primary school kids?
No, you know, I started by telling you that let the guidelines come. It's the government ultimately who will take.
Thinking.
You see, you have to understand the schools will actually have to dovetail themselves as to what the government thinks, because it's the government who's opened up the shops and the roads and the malls or whatever it is that they've opened. So schools will only they shut when the government gave the order. They will open when the government gives the order. So the bottom line is, as I started by saying, once the guideline comes in, naturally, who's going to jeopardize the life of children? I'm not going to stand there and say, I don't care about the guidelines, let's go ahead and open the school. It doesn't work that way. Nobody rational talks like that. But having said that, the other thing I'd like to make a point quickly here.
Go ahead, Ms. Vatal.
That, you know, for every Israel or every France you're speaking about, even as we speak, Australia has opened its schools for classes 1, 3, 6 and 9.
But Australia never had the number of cases that any of these other countries.
Yeah,
nowhere close to the number of cases.
On 15th. England is opening its schools on the 15th of this month. And again, it's opening primary schools. I know because I have nieces and nephews over there whose children are going to school. There's a great deal of anxiety. But schools are opening. Parents are being given the choice that it's up to you. If you think you would like to send the child, it's entirely up to you.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of parents who want to send their children.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. In the end, irrespective of what the government says the guidelines are and what the school says, what they're going to do, in the end, the onus will lie on the parent. The parent can take that call whether they should send their child or not. So quick response, Mr. Bhatla, then I want to go across to another parent. Rashmi Chopra.
Ma'am, I'll just make a point. We were talking about Australia. Let us look inward. We know the infrastructure in our country. We're not talking of schools in Delhi and Mumbai. There are schools, there are government schools across the country, whether it is Uttar Pradesh, whether it is Bihar. We have to look at a common education system for the entire country.
Yes.
When advanced countries like South Korea, Israel, they tried their best. I'm sure, ma'am, as a parent, I would be more than happy to send my child to school. And no parent would want the children to be sitting at home. But safety concerns have to be kept in mind. The All India Parents Association, the Delhi Parents Association, they have said to the schools, they have requested the CBSE that the exams need to be cancelled. The schools remain closed for a little while. Ma'am, let me tell you, if we feel that things have become normal, can we ask the state legislative assemblies to start functioning like normal?
All right, Mr. Bhatla, let me get in. You touched on two important points. There must be a universal, nationalized decision taken, keeping in mind all students, not just students of private schools in Delhi, but also students in rural areas. We'll go across and touch upon that. But before that, let me get in Rashmi Chopra. Rashmi, please respond. Amita Vatal points out that in the end, it's going to be the parents' decision. You have to take a call when schools open, whether or not you're going to send your kid to school. Are you a working mom? There are many working moms who are grappling with that because in a sense, they can't go back to work. Perhaps they're giving up on their jobs because their kids are at home.
Yes, I agree that there is a concern from the working moms, but definitely over the past few months, there has been a work from home options to most of us. And it's the health definitely is of primary importance. So I will not say that that has not been a concern and only work has been a concern. If you see that the children, I was just telling someone, I've been collecting a lot of suggestions from parents across. Today we have allowed our children to start going down and playing, and there are no masks, there is no social distancing. And if we are taking this same example to a school which is like a bigger community, it's going to trigger like anything. Who's going to listen? How are we going to maintain social distancing? How are we maintaining the masks? After 2 hours we feel suffocated inside the mask, and we are thinking of an 8-hour school.
Yeah.
So at this point of time, if you ask me, I definitely would not want to send my child in this situation.
Okay,
I wish and hope.
Some important points you've picked up. Let's get in a doctor here to answer those questions. Dr. Rakesh Verma from the DGHS, that is he's the Director of the General of Health Services, the Government of India. Dr. Verma, thank you so much for your time. Parents have many concerns. As you heard this parent here, Rashmi Chopra, say, she says nothing is more important than the health of one's children, right? So parents want to know when they can send children back to school, but can they do that safely? When can they do that safely? Now, you've heard the numbers, you've been following the story, you know what India's story is when it comes to coronavirus. When do you think schools should open? Is it July? Is it August? September?
The concerns of the parents are very well justified, and there's no doubt and no debate on that point, that each parent has to look after the welfare, safety, security of his and her child. So on that part, there's no question or doubt. See, the numbers of corona patients are increasing per day, but things are not without control. The government of India has done immense measure to contain this disease. While people are getting scared, I only say one sentence: respect the disease, but don't create a panic. Please. Yeah. Respect the disease, don't create a panic. Every coin has got two aspects. You have to look into both aspects. Nobody is compelling, nobody is asking parents to send their child to the school. That decision has to be resting with the parent, as you have already described. I agree with that.
Okay. So, doctor, let me ask you the question I asked Ma'am Vattal first. Some students, some experts are saying older kids should return to school, right? Because they have a more intense syllabus. Others say that children under 10 should go back first because they're far less likely to test positive for the virus. Is it conclusive? Do we know for sure that kids under 10 are less likely to contract the virus?
In this epidemic, you must have noticed that out of 100 patients, only about 6 to 7 patients require hospitalization. Out of those 6 to 7, only 1 or 2 patients become serious. The mortality, the death rate after getting full-fledged infection is less than 3%.
Sure.
And
Doctor, we're talking about children.
That is confined to the person who are aged. Those are beyond 60
years
of age.
Yes, but what about children? Children under 10. There's this whole, first we heard from all the experts that children aren't likely to contract COVID-19. Then we said, yes, they're definitely carriers, they're asymptomatic. Is that a concern? Because many parents are sending them to school, but you may have aged grandparents at home.
Exactly. What I'm saying is children are not totally immune from this disease, but the data is very limited. One. Second part is, if a child is sick, the parent of that child must remember that another 35 or 40 students could be in his or her class. So they have to quarantine the child and not to send a sick child to a public place, be a park, be a playing ground, be a school. So first responsibility comes on the parents. If they find a child to be having temperature, having some symptoms, even remotely suggestive of a corona infection, it is their responsibility, their duty for the child, for other children in the same family, for the children in the school or the neighborhood, to quarantine such a child within the home. If they follow that norm, as the government of India is time and again saying, that in this disease, prevention is the best cure. You are not preventing only for yourself or your children, you are preventing for other children of the neighborhood, of the school, or the same locality. So a self-quarantine, a self-discipline is the call of the day. However, whether somebody should send smaller children, infants, or the elder students, that is a decision yet to be taken that requires a lot of feedback. And data is still not ready to.
But doctor, I want to just understand, is it not correct that children are carriers, that they'll be asymptomatic? So when you say if a child is unwell or got a cough or a cold, parents should keep them at home. These are, parents who may also have to get to work and don't know how to leave these children at home. Many of these students might just be asymptomatic, right?
See, now a social problem should not mix up with a medical problem. See, the parent cannot go to the office because a child being unwell, a child being available is a social problem.
But that may be the ground reality, sir.
Problem. It has to be attended by socially.
I just want to make a point.
I'll come to you. Go ahead, doctor.
What I'm saying is, medical problem is different from a social problem. Okay? So, and if the nuclear family, where there are not enough people to look after the children while they are at home, so this is a social problem. This has to be attended socially by society, not by the medical doctors. Medical doctors can define you, can advise you to do this and do not do this. So far as very small children are concerned, or slightly elder children are concerned, the condition remains same. Only the elder children, elder students, those who are going to
Doctor, one more question.
Are more receptive for medical education, small instruction, which you cannot expect
Doctor,
from
one
parents.
other question that this parent Rashmi Chopra raised, which many parents are concerned about, because I know my child's school is saying when schools reopen, children will have to wear masks all day in their classes. So if you have a 4-year-old, is he or she is supposed to wear a mask for 7 to 8 hours? Is that even healthy?
That is a very relevant and pertinent question. I really like the parents' concern on that point. See, nobody is asking to wear mask for that long. That could be counterproductive.
Okay.
And that is not only for children, not for younger adults, for anybody. Wearing mask for such a long duration is inadvisable. Mask is required when you are in close vicinity with somebody within 8 to 10 feet. If there is nobody around
Sarah,
you within 8
I would like to say something.
But in class, you will be in close vicinity with each other. So
I would like to say something.
I'll just come to you, ma'am Vatal.
Right.
So for that class, as and when the schools open, when they start their schools, they have to ensure that somebody is there to ensure that children are having at least a gap of 8 to 10 feet, and they are not put under mask continuously. Please,
I don't know how realistic that is and how that's going to be possible. Okay, quick, ma'am Vatal, quick 30-second comment. First to you.
Yeah, what I want to say is, firstly, I can assure you that children are not going to come to school from 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock.
Okay.
It's going to be staggered timing.
Okay.
So the question of a child wearing a mask, I don't think even if small children come in, they will come in for more than an hour and a half to 2 hours. And even within that, there will be certain protocols that will be put into place.
Okay.
In fact, the first gateway to coming into the school and ensuring that it's safe and sanitized and careful is going to be the board examination gateway. So in that, you'll be able to really see how it's working. And schools are really going out to see, because ultimately it is also a great responsibility of ours, and children are as much as ours as they belong to the parent. So I think it's very essential that we have to work together in this. We cannot be on the other side of the fence. It has to be a school-parent partnership.
We have to work together. They can't work at cross purposes with each other. All right. Amit Batla, I'll come to you, but I want to go across to that very important point that you raised, that there must be a nationwide consensus on education for all children across India, not just children in private schools in Delhi and in Mumbai. Let's go across to Ajay Kumar. He's the executive director of the Rights NGO. He's a Dalit rights activist. Mr. Kumar, we are sitting here and debating whether schools should open, when they should open. Meanwhile, the gap between the disadvantaged and wealthy pupils is widening during this lockdown. Mr. Kumar?
Yeah, I can hear your voice.
Mr. Kumar, can you hear me now?
Yeah, please.
I was asking you that the gap between students who are disadvantaged and students who are wealthy, that has been widening over the past 2 months of this lockdown.
Exactly. In fact, even pre-COVID-19 period itself, see, the country has only 49% internet density, which means every 2 people you see, the only one has the connectivity. That is even the divide between the urban and the rural and the poor and the rich and the socially excluded. The digital divide is actually, across the country is very huge. only 9% the panchayats having broadband connectivity.
Yep.
So without considering this the very poor infrastructure we have, go for an online classrooms. In fact, there is it is very weird to say that we should now jump into the online education system. Now, even after the announcement of the lockdown, there are a lot of discussion about the switching into the online education, especially in the college level,
yes.
To the online system. Unfortunately, in the day one itself, we already excluded a large number of Dalits, Adivasis from the education system. It's a serious one, but unfortunately nobody taking up this issue and discussing it in the national level.
Yes,
now,
that is the reality of India. We had that horrifically tragic story about a Kerala schoolgirl, a Dalit schoolgirl who committed suicide because she could not access online classes. So while everybody raves about, the fact that we're going online, our kids are getting all digital, the reality is that there are millions of children whose education will hit a hard stop if schools continue to stay closed and continue to do online classes. So, Mr. Kumar, I want to ask you then, so are you saying that schools should open? Because on the other hand, there are children, many millions of children in India who depend on school for their only meal of the day, the midday meal scheme. So, would you say schools should open as soon as possible? And under what conditions?
No, there are WHO's guidelines, the ways and means how school should be open. So if you have put all those infrastructure in place, we can go for an open to school. But the issue of other child rights things like midday meals and the issue of feeding children, that should you can treat separately. For example, you can even serve the food to the children in their homes. They don't need to not necessarily come to the school setup and open up schools. See, the biggest problem is those countries which already open up schools, which have a very, very limited or negligible attendance rate. So, look at that. Even the post, now we are, relaxing the...
okay, but I'm not sure. I'm sorry, of course, you know better than me, but I'm not sure if it's practical, if it's feasible to say that you can deliver the midday meal to each home. But I want to give the closing word to a student. We're all sitting here and debating the future of these students. So why don't we listen to a student? Samarth Ghai is a class 12 student. You've just entered class 12. So Samarth, you've heard everybody debate your future when school should open. What do you think? When should schools open? What do your friends think? What would you say to anyone in the government who's debating when school should open?
So right now, as far as my school is concerned, I don't think it should open, because of the simple fact that I don't see an incentive right now. All my teachings are going on online. The work plan that was shared with us, we've been able to cover that. We've been tested. We've had all our events online. So at least for us, I don't think it's worth risking. But yes, there's a definite question for other less fortunate ones. The schooling should open, and the ecosystem around me, all the students and my friends think that it's unsafe. We are able to communicate and study online, but it's not safe to open schools right now.
All right. So that is the experience of a 12th grader, somebody in class 12, studying in one of the most, prestigious schools in the capital. Thank you all, parents, teachers, educators, doctors. As I think Ma'am Buttle said, this has to be something we all work with together. It is not about schools being against parents or being against the government. Everybody needs to work together. It takes a village to bring up a child. Thank you all for joining us tonight on DW.